wine. Can we paint with it? Let's find out. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today on this episode of Can We Paint With This? We are going to paint with wine. I got 3 different wines to try and we're gonna get right into it. Hibiscus come in all types of colors, but this one in particular is deeper pink on the inside and kind of like a lighter rosy pink on the outer edge of the petals. So I have 3 wines today that I'm going to attempt to paint with. I have a Cabernet, which is the deepest colored wine I will be painting with. I have a white Zinfandel, which is medium pink. And then I have a pink Moscato, which is very light. Now, I don't know how any of these are actually going to react on the paper. So I'm hoping they stay somewhat true to their color, but we won't really know that until we try. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start with kind of like a light wash over some of these petals. And I'm gonna start with the pink Moscato. And you can see here, it's barely there. It's like a very slight pink, almost watery. Just looks like water mostly. So I don't know how it's gonna dry though. Sometimes things dry darker, sometimes they dry lighter. And with this having alcohol in it, I really don't know what that's going to do. So I have this petal wet with the pink Moscato. Now I'm gonna dip in the white Zinfandel, and it's also very light. So I'm gonna go into the Cabernet. Hopefully this brings a little bit more color. And it does, which is good. What I'm hoping for is, because these colors are so pale right now, I hope that I can layer them. So as they dry, I hope I can go back and do another coat that's going to make it a little bit darker. So I'm gonna hair dry this and see how the colors turn out dry, and then I'll know kind of where to go from there. So it is very light as it dries. I'm gonna go in with some more of the Cabernet and see if I'm gonna be able to layer this. So while that one's drying, I'm going to go over to this one. I'm gonna start with the Cabernet on this petal and see if it'll be darker by putting the Cabernet straight down on the paper instead of putting it down on already wet paper. So there's our Cabernet, and then I'm gonna kind of fade it into the white Zinfandel. I am going to be able to build it up some, but not super dark. So I'm going to do this kind of same wash on the other petals. I'm leaving a little tiny space between the petals right now because if I touch them, everything will run together, and I want to keep that separation right now. So I'm starting with that darker Cabernet. And then I'm going to fade it out into the white Zin. So this one, the center part of the flower kind of comes up here, so I gotta paint around that. Make sure I leave that white. It very much smells like wine in here. I think it's really pretty how the Cabernet is kind of fading into the lighter ends of the flowers. It's all still a very delicate color, but I think that's pretty how it's doing that. So we are going to let this dry for a minute before we do anything else. Okay, so our flower is not completely dry, but that's okay because I want to put a little bit more of the Cabernet in to make some darker areas, and I don't want it to have harsh edges. So because it's still a little bit wet, it'll kind of fade in. Put some wrinkles in the petals here. So they look a little crepey because they are naturally that way. I really love this washiness that I'm getting. Let this dry again and then try to add maybe a couple more little details, and that should be about it. I don't think we can get too much darker than what we're getting. And I don't want to overwork it either. Like I was saying, I love kind of this washiness that I'm getting. And so I think I'm just going to let that happen and just add in a couple more little details when everything's dry and a little bit of dimension on this center part. And then I think we're going to call it a day. So a little bit more detail, like shadow, dimension. I'm going to use some of the lighter pink in here and see if it shows up differently when it dries. So I am going to do a little bit of splatter. Okay, so I think I'm gonna add a little bit of pen and to just give it some dimension. And there it is, our wine hibiscus flower. So I think we can definitely paint with wine. As you can see, here is our final product from today, our wine hibiscus flower. I did add a little bit of ink because one of the most difficult things that I found was you cannot keep building up the color darker and darker. This was about as dark as it could get. So to get enough contrast, that was a little tricky, but adding in the ink definitely helped, and I think it was a success. So yes, we can paint with wine. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope to see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, like this video, and I can't wait to see you next time.